Well, I'd just like to welcome you to the future of guitars. Dun dun dun. What is this? It's a turtle. It's washed up on a beach, and no, wait a minute. It's a spaceship. It's a guitar. It's a beautiful thing. It's an Emerald X20. I just had to look in whether it's the 20 or 30. The 30's a deeper body. This is the Emerald X20, and it's a guitar that's made out of carbon fibre, and it has a sound hole that's on the edge of the body. You can put your hand in, and there are no braces, nothing. It's a moulded carbon fibre shape, or I don't know how they construct it, but it doesn't need braces. It's got a wood laminate built into the top here, which is apparently a 0.2 of a 0.3, a third of a millimetre thick. So they get their money's worth out of their bits of laminate. But it's beautiful, and it's just pretty, and the colours in the wood seem to match with the carbon fibre colours. It has a carbon fibre bridge, which is directly part of this top structure. They claim it's not stuck on, it's just made as part of that, which is cool. And you'll notice obviously straight away that it's got adjustable individual saddles, just like a Strat type of guitar. It has stainless steel frets, which are actually, they're beautifully cut in a certain sort of way. Well, they are, but they're cut in a very particular way so that they feel quite sharp. They're sort of, you can see them three-side cut, so you get this perfect triangle, well, near perfect triangle on every end piece. But it's feeling a bit too sharp for my customer's point of view. So, yeah, I mean, this is an amazing thing. So I've already come to my conclusion about this guitar, which is cool because I've had a chance to play it offline at home, and you know, it's an incredible thing. As you can tell, the shape is remarkable. Look at that. There's no heel as such. It's just a sort of sculpted out hole, and the side slopes, so it sits on your knee and follows the actual genuine angle of your knee, which is a clever innovation, rather than a box trying to sit on your knee. And of course you've got this beautiful, in this case, bronzy, sort of golden, yellowy, greeny yellow carbon fibre, which is very pretty. We've got some Goto. Is it Goto? Oh no, what do they have their own type? I don't know, what are they? I thought they yeah, they are Goto 510s. So beautiful. I think they were 18 to 1 to 18 tuning ratio. So nice quality, good looking tuners. You know, the whole thing, carbon. This is the slightly shallower body version. There's a deeper one, which is about an inch deeper apparently, which is the X30, which produces a bit of a bigger bass response, so they say, but that's just from what I've read, because obviously I've only got this one to hand. Now, I want to say one thing straight away, and that is that Emerald, the company that made this guitar, offered to take the guitar back and can I make it actually look and see anything? No. My camera is not very good in this light. Yeah, so they offered straight away to for him to send the guitar back. I mean, first of all, they've been actually very good all the way through his buying of this guitar, and so let's see if we can get a view. Oh yeah, look at that! What have we got in there? Can I get a focus on that? Okay, so there's there's like a LR Bags element system up here by the looks of it. We've got the sort of we've got a little connection here to route the cables, and then we've got piezo element down there in the bridge, or going through the bridge, and then obviously right at the end there's a jack socket that we can actually see out through. But anyway, that's a quick lighted look. But yes, the company's been superb, so there's absolutely, he has no complaints whatsoever about the thing. And regarding the fret ends, when he mentioned that he felt they were a bit sharp for him, they offered to take the guitar back and do it, and he said he was going to send it to me anyway, because he wanted me to have an overall look at it. He's a good customer of mine, and he spent quite a lot of money on this. Now the price I think is about 1,800 quid. And so for him, that's, for most of us, that would be quite a lot for an acoustic guitar. So having spent that on the guitar, he wanted me to look it over and kind of see, I'm inventing this to reassure him that he's spent money well. So my first conclusion is, yes, you have spent money well. Again, we'll come back to why in a minute. So regarding the company, this is a great, amazing innovation, and I know that Gary's reason for sending it to me is, A, he trusts me to check it over and assess it objectively and do any tweaks that we can do, but also because I know that he knows I'm interested in the kind of universal problem of collapsing structures in acoustic guitars. And for those of you who may or may not have heard me talk about it, I've become very disillusioned with the conventional acoustic guitar structure, meaning that I see a lot of guitars that fold up after very short playing lives, and with no apparent reason. They're not particularly badly treated, or they're not left in an underwater, box in the bottom of a lake or anything. And so there are lots of guitars I see that are in various stages of basically folding up, distortion or deformation, I call it sometimes. And so I'm disillusioned when people sort of say to me, well, what should I get as an acoustic guitar? Because I can't actually recommend anything, and certainly not buying online, without being able to feel it, because even some new guitars I've seen that shouldn't be have been sold to people in a state of deformation, meaning that the structure of the guitar has changed so much, even since manufacture, that there is no room for adjustment of the playing action at the saddle, and they have come out of the factory virtually unplayable, and actually with nowhere else to go but a neck reset brand new. Effectively, it may have sat in the retailers for a year maybe or something, but in that time it's become unplayable, or it came out of the factory pretty much unplayable. And you get a lot of people online who say things like, oh, you don't know what you're talking about, all guitars are like that, yada yada yada. Well, I'm being a bit sort of pragmatic about this. If I paid 600 quid or 500 quid for a Yamaha APX, for example, and by the time I'd had it 3 months, it was unplayable, and actually, within that sort of first period of time, I realised that I couldn't live with it, then it would be going straight back. And I've seen guitars, in fact, people have brought guitars by which I've looked at and said, that's unsavable, it's brand new, and it's gone, a couple of months old, and it's gone straight back. And Joe knows what I mean by that, and that was an APX 600, funnily enough. I've had a few bad ones of those. Sorry, Yamaha. Anyway, so the point is, there's not a lot of, if you're not a trained, classical instrument or wooden instrument luthier, and you're just interested in how these things are made and how they don't seem to stand up to ordinary use, and some, seems to be a difficult or a losing battle being fought between tone and strength, then there isn't a lot of authoritative information you can find out there. And what you do find is, as always, a lot of different dogmas on the subject, and people will claim that a guitar will have folded up because of this, or it hasn't folded up, you're just not looking at it right or something. Anyway, it's just not a very rewarding area for study. So when I saw this, or when Gary said he wanted to send this down to me, I was very interested because in one sense, if this is a good guitar, then to me it is the only way forward to solve this problem. The problem with guitars folding up, the wooden guitars folding up, is that there's something incredibly cynical about that. When you are saying to customers, it's a turkey, no, wasn't it a crapshoot? No, you know, it's a potluck. You might get one that holds together, or you might get one that folds up within a year, and you'll have to consider having a full neck reset. And you know, to be faced with that when you've gone out and spent a lot of money on a so-called quality guitar, it's ridiculous. It shouldn't be acceptable. And then the whole business becomes, how can you get it put right, and then can you afford the neck reset that's required, and so on and so forth. So for me, I would probably never buy an expensive wooden acoustic. Now, yes, I get it. I'm not a performing player. I'm not a very good guitarist at all, frankly, technically. But I am also somebody who buys guitars and have bought them for myself. So I would be upset if the guitar I bought was kind of deforming and I'd only put it through normal usage, and yet it was coming to the end of its playing life in such a short period of time. I would be mega cheesed off. I'm just going to see what I can see through here, so we can, don't need to see me, we just need to see the guitar. Anyway, so for me there's just a huge problem. It's not even just that some guitars fall to bits and you can pay lots of money for some Martins and they're not in good shape. I've worked on a couple that have just been what I would consider unacceptably deformed after a relatively short period of time. So for me, the worst thing you can have as a manufacturer is to be selling something that somebody can feel bad about. All right. So if you love making guitars, you are Martin and you've got a big factory and you make a D28 or whatever it was, and it is unplayable within a couple of years of normal use, what you've created is somebody who's upset because they've got an expensive guitar that now they're looking at having to pay for a luthier to do an expensive neck reset on at best. And of course all that does is it resets it, and the same pressures and the same stresses are going to pull on the same structure again, more than likely deform it again in possibly even as short a time. So that's bad feeling. That's turned what should be a luxury, thrill, fun purchase, into a grudge purchase almost. And I think that's a terrible mistake. Now I get it that, as from what little I've researched, that I totally understand that the battle has always been between thin and light materials to make the best kind of sought after tone, but and that comes at a cost of strength until now. So, but to be honest, I don't think it's a particularly good compromise up till now. Okay, some cheap guitars that you wouldn't expect to last have lasted forever. Some models of the same, some examples of one model have lasted forever or for a long time, and others have failed shortly, and that's the nature of wood, I guess. But to have spent 1,500 quid on or whatever it was, 1,800 quid on a Martin D28, and then within 2 or 3 years it being unplayable, to me is just that's I feel bad about that now. That thing hanging on the wall makes me feel bad because it's now going to cost me another 600 quid to get put right. So, and to me, the worst part of all of that isn't just that I have to go through it and spend the money, because I might have the money. The worst part is, as somebody who wants to make people happy by making guitars that carry on playing well, the feeling that I know that somebody's got something that isn't fit for purpose is terrible. It's a horrible feeling. So into this space obviously has come Emerald guitars, and it's not the only manufacturer. I've seen a couple others online and in magazines and stuff, but this is an acoustic guitar made completely of carbon fibre, including the fingerboard. Now, the first thing I'll say about this guitar, and I know that the sound test, there's a great couple of videos online. I don't remember the guy's name, but there's a guy who's done like a half-an-hour video comparing, I think, a Taylor, a Martin, and this for a tone test. And you can go and find that. It might actually even be on the Emerald channel. But anyway, you can go and make that sort of much better sound test. Obviously, I'm recording this through a head mic, which is a bit compressy, or if nothing else, then it's on the Sony, which is a bit loud and whatever. But so it's not good sound quality or good sound recording. But when I listen to them together, you could first thing to say is that you can tell the carbon fibre apart from the wood. Now, that's not surprising because, obviously in acoustics, tone wood is all important. I know my little baby Taylor made out of mahogany has a metallic sort of ring to it, which I like, which isn't in the other woods, spruce or whatever, Sitka, whatever they made it out of. Anyway, so you would expect carbon fibre to have its own signature tone, and this thing does. And when I listened to the three on that review back to back, I think I can hear them apart, and it's not a failure for the company to be able to hear them apart. You'd expect this object, completely different construction, completely different materials, you'd expect it to have a slightly different sound to it. Now the question after that is, how good is the sound? And I'm not the best person to judge that because I don't play professionally. I haven't got a lifetime of standing on stage and playing other guitars, wooden guitars, to test it against. Now what I felt when I first played this was down in the lower notes. For me, I find this lacking a bit of bass punch, right? It plays cleanly, all the frets and the notes and the fingerboard, everything's beautiful, right? But I don't get a big warm bass sound from it. Now, no, let's put it another way. So I noticed that as a difference when I played it. And then I found somebody writing online in a forum saying, I had the same experience of this slightly bass light playing tone until somebody said to me, come and listen to it from over here. And somebody played it and they went and sat on the other side. And the sound from in front of here is actually very different from the sound that the player hears. Now, that is probably to a degree that happens with an wooden acoustic guitar, but here it happens quite, I think, it's just my personal experience, I think it happens quite a lot. I'm missing out so it's like it's projecting the tone out there, and I'm hearing a thinner version. Now, you'd think that would be the same thing for any guitar, including ones with the sound hole there. What you'd think actually with the sound hole here, you'd think it would project it up to me. So it's a little bit odd that this actually sounds so much better there than there. Now, you know, I'm not doing this as a review for Emerald to see or to act on. I'm speaking as a novice in a way of acoustic guitars. I'm just telling you what I find. And actually the sound is the best about here, which isn't where I'm hearing it. So maybe what they've done is try to balance projection. It's sort of a bit here and a bit here, and maybe it has changed the dynamic a little bit from a wooden acoustic with the sound hole facing here. But I felt a little bit missing in the sort of big fat bass tones. What did I play a few weeks ago? Collingswood. And now, admittedly, I didn't stand up and play it on a strap like this, but I remember just plucking a couple of notes, and the bass response was huge, and it's not quite the same on here. But it's quite a lot better in front of it, which is a weird thing. Now, for me, actually, if I just know that, actually I could live with that if I knew that if I was a performer and the audience was getting the full sound, I would be cool with that. It would be a quirk of this guitar, but I'd be happy with it. Now that's just the tonal part. Now I like the sound of this. One of the reasons I know I quite like the sound of this is that twice I've picked it up, I've played it for about an hour at a time. But I'm hearing a little tiny little, don't know what it is, there's a little zing on the edge of one of these notes. If I hit it there, it's creating a little noise that's annoying me, but I'm sure all guitars have got a quirk like that. So it's got all the edges are slanted and curved and everything, so it feels really nice to put on. This is a cheap strap, and it's trying to drop a little bit at the head, but nothing major. I wonder if you could hear the difference. Hang on. Just a test from in front and from above and behind. Anyway, so far, good signs. And comfortable, feels nice to play. The neck is very, very stable. Obviously, Emerald claims, I have no reason to disbelieve them, that this thing doesn't need adjusting throughout the year. Obviously, carbon fibre is not going to respond in the way that wood does to changing seasons. So straight away you've got a stability of setup that beats other guitars. So what else have you got? Well, you've got the adjustable intonation, you've got piezo saddles under there for your whatever if it's LR bags, it looks like an LR bag system, but for the preamp, whatever. You've got what seems like perfect frets, perfect tuning stability. The nut seems to, I've measured the nut. There was a question about whether I need to do anything with it, but the nut actually has a first fret action of 0.3, which is absolutely spot on where I'd like it, all the way through. So it's got everything going in its favour. Low action. Already the last fret here, well, measuring it by here, as I would, measuring the last fret here, we've got 2.5 on the low E and 1.6 on the high E, which is actually pretty nice. It's kind of near, well, my lowest would be 2.5 and about 1.4, sorry, 2 and 1.4. So I might, out of interest, I'm going to take it down a little bit to see if we can change it. Now, looks beautiful, but some people have particular takes on it. Hand can get pretty far up here due to the, for the access. Obviously they recognise you can't really get to frets up here, so they've styled it across comme ça. But you can get your hand in. It's very comfortable in this big hollow at the back here. Yeah, I mean, you can put your hand on here and press down and play palm muted chords. So what else? Yeah, pretty veneer on top of there, but there's all manner of different styles you can get apparently, or just plain gorgeous high-tech carbon fibre. So on the plus side, just about everything. What's on the negative side? Well, as far as Gary's concerned, just only the small issue of the slightly sharply done fret ends, and it's a stylish thing. I'm not finding them too bad, but we'll take some time and there's that little zing coming in again. Yeah, I'll take some time and soften them out. But as I say, I've been playing all day, or for an hour at least. So you know, it sounds great to me. There's no way I could do that with a plectrum. I don't think George Harrison could either. Anyway, so like I said, it's not meant to be a review, but I couldn't resist the opportunity to kind of talk through this guitar, and because it's as new to me as it would be to many or most of you. So everything about this, with its carbon fibre non-wood fingerboard, looks great. Looks like a kind of slightly dull sheen on an ebony board. All its sort of contours and its slanting leg rest bit. Everything works for me. Like I said, possibly bar a slight bit of top heaviness. That's the only tiny criticism. But it could just be this cheap, I mean it is this cheap strap and a t-shirt as well, but it's just, I'm not holding it up. I don't have to, but I'm doing a little bit of lifting with this corner here to keep it in place. A lot more bass lean over here. Anyway, so that's enough of me hitting the strings for a minute. So my verdict on this, and like I said, I'm not connected in any way to the company, and I'm not being paid in any way, and blah blah blah. But I like to see things that I don't know and haven't seen before. And my question would be, would I buy one of these? Now, I think my answer would be probably yes. And the question is then why? Well, first of all, it's got a pretty perfect neck, with no twists and hills and valleys of the usual stuff. The tuning's great, the nut is good, the body, if you don't mind the style, I don't at all. It plays, it's a guitar for playing, I don't care about where the holes are. I think it looks beautiful. I think carbon fibre looks pretty anyway. Nothing about these shapes, not even this great big gap here, offends me in any way. I like the slope there, can you see that? Slope, as the thing kind of goes inwards, leans inwards, hard to see exactly. And and I like the bowl back a little bit, or the slightly contoured back, and the colours and stuff. So everything about this I like. I like how it plays. It's 1,800 quid. Would I buy it for 1,800 quid? Well, I don't play enough acoustic guitar to spend 1,800 quid on one at this point in time. But if I did, then I think I would be sorely tempted. And the reason why is because I hate things that have built-in obsolescence and things that are cynically produced, in that the manufacturer knows that they're going to fold up in a couple of years' time or a few years' time, and then somebody else is going to be charged a fortune for putting it right. I think, to me, that's somewhat cynical. I know you could argue that it's the musicians that have forced that compromise, for the chasing twinklier tone will end up giving you structurally unsound guitars. You could argue that that's what's happened, and they're only responding to the market, so it's not really cynical. That's not fair. But anyway, to me, this represents, if I had a bit of spare money, which I don't just now, but if I had a bit of spare money and I was looking for an acoustic, I would be looking at this going, trouble-free guitar playing for the rest of my life for 1,800 quid, and one that is nice sounding as it is, has a slightly quirky thing about not sounding as deep and bassy until you're at a certain position here, which is where the audience would be rather than me. But that aside, it sounds pretty good when I've run it out through the thing. For me, a guitar for life that never will, the neck will never warp. I'll never be find myself having to adjust a truss rod, although there is a truss rod and a key. It has perfect amount. For an acoustic, it's got 0.3 of a millimeter relief on it. So this thing is pretty set up perfectly. And I'm going to drop the action a tiny bit because this has been done on the Plek'd machine apparently, which I'm interested to know how much it allows the action to be lowered. But I know what the action currently is. I've got a measure so I can reset it. But so yeah, as a guitar, I would buy it as a guitar for life, and to buy out of the kind of, I don't know, the constant waiting for the Martin or the Taylor to fall apart or to distort and have to go back to the manufacturer or whatever. I really like the idea of having something that matters to me that I would live with. And this could get battered and scratched and chipped, and it wouldn't wear and weather in the same way an acoustic wooden guitar does, but it will still be playing, and it will be there when I go, sort of thing, and it'd probably be sounding and playing exactly the same. So I think for me that's a massive appeal, which makes it, everything about it as a guitar plays great from what I can hear and what I can feel, judging by how long I've played it and the last couple of times I've been playing it. So I think it's a great instrument. I've picked up a couple of little sounds that may have nothing to do with the guitar, maybe just the way I've plucked the note. Who knows? I would probably know more about that by living with it for longer. But generally speaking, wow, what an amazing thing. Like I said, I'm not in the market for an 1,800 quid guitar, but if I was, that would be a very, very serious contender. And there is, obviously there's customization, so people can have standard or traditional style bridges or these multiple individual intonation things. Now, so what I'm going to do now is, I'm just trying to think. It's going to be a very boring. In fact, I'm not going to do this kind of as a setup because it's just going to be hours of me filing and masking off and careful sandpapering around the edges here. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to end up with this video, having talked my way through it and given you my views on it. What I think I'll do is I'll just do the test of the height of the action, see what we can get away with. Just as a little experiment. So we know that this is Plek'd, or we're told that this is Plek'd. So we should be able to now see how far down this goes in the playability stakes. Obviously, strings on an acoustic have to have a certain amount of movement room, and this is set at a particular height. So we can, it's got the US, I think it's got US style, which is funny, since isn't it Irish? I'm imagining this. It's got US style saddles in it. Oh, that's because it's probably come from a Tusk kit, Ghost saddles. So what I'm going to do first of all is I'm going to go and take the action down below my target acoustic action. So I'm going to sort of give it a sort of a challenge, and we're going to go below it. So I'm going to go to, why don't we go to an electric guitar action, right? And then we'll see what it does with an electric guitar. Now technically this thing should play as an electric guitar, no problem at all. If it's, not only just if it's been Plek'd, but also if it's been, you know, if the neck is as overall stable as they say. So this is a little bit difficult to do. I'm going to have to, obviously that one's very stiff. It is very stiff, I don't quite know why. So I'm going to go through it, take a little while. I'm measuring it off nearly the last fret. So I'm going down to the electric guitar height of 1.5 on the bass side, and we're going to go across to 1.2 on the treble side. Now the other question, of course, or the thing to watch out for with this is that if you were lowering it down to this, you'd be saying, have I got enough break angle on my strings to play? And obviously that is important both acoustically and also as a piezoelectric. There's a couple of these, I've got quite stiff grub screws going on there. Okay, so that needs to come down a fraction. We'll get there in a minute. And then we'll also, when I'm done, I'll also reset or check and set the intonation. So just be interesting, that's all, to see if it will play in the zone of the electric guitar. 0.2. Well, that's sort of close. It's not exact, obviously, but let's we'll see what the Plek'd frets will do. That's impressive. Well, I haven't tried all the notes on it yet, but that's playing at a Well, that's very interesting. So, conclusion, set at electric guitar actions, this thing has no more or less fret slap than anything else than it did before. It plays pretty much exactly as it did before, except it feels a little lighter down here now and lighter in the middle. I think that's, I mean, in a way, it's partly having been Plek'd, but actually I think what I'm seeing, and this is my kind of particular interest, is I'm seeing that the real difference in this is the uniformity of the neck. Now, I don't see the problem with this visually. What I'm telling you is I can confirm to you that this neck is a smoother curve, a smoother surface, and has a smoother curve in it than any wooden neck, almost any wooden neck that I've ever come across. So it's telling you straight away, it's telling me straight away that the fact that I can lower this to an electric guitar action and have no fret slap creeping in, it tells me that basically under load there is none of this going on with this neck, the way there is with all wooden necks, almost all wooden necks. So, I mean, yes, you can get a bumpy wooden neck to play okay, and that takes some fret leveling, so you can alleviate that microscopic hilliness and so on, which is what I do all the time. But this is a great example of how a composite material like carbon fibre, a non-organic material, produces a straighter, when I mean straight, I mean, it doesn't mean you play it straight, but when you bend it with the string loading and or the truss rod adjustment, what it does is it bends in a smoother and more uniform fashion than wood ever does. And wood clusters and clumps in these hills and valleys when the neck is under compression and when it's slightly bent and curved. It probably does that even when it's supposedly straight. So that is a massive difference between this instrument and any of the other acoustic guitars out there. Obviously these are not exactly very good examples of them, but a conventional acoustic guitar. I have to go into my toilet to find the other one. Look, it's a chord guitar, as simple as that, but waiting to one day be fixed up. That'll be a nice playing guitar if I can get the bridge back on. But there again, you see, this arguably this will never come off because it's not stuck on in the first place. It's part of the unit, which means it will not rip off like the bridge on both of those two guitars in there have. Now, the question here is that does this top deform over time? Well, the manufacturer would probably argue no, because it's stronger to begin with than the wooden alternatives. I can't give you an answer on that. I'd have to own one for a long time, but it would definitely be an experiment worth reporting on for somebody when somebody's had one for a long time. Be good to sort of measure it. Now, this out of interest, this probably has. This probably has a degree of what's the word I'm looking for? Bend. It's not going to be dead flat, but let's have a look and just get a feel for how curved it is. See, that's quite a lot of curvature. But again, you see, once you've designed this in carbon fibre, seeing that on an acoustic guitar would tell me that it's starting to belly. I don't know whether that's the case here. I don't know whether it was designed with that curvature in it. All I most care about is whether it will stay playable, or whether there'll be any change in that curve. I suspect this is deliberately curved from manufacturing, because this is effectively brand new. So, but often on guitars where you find a curve like that, it's often that the action's already way high. This has got as much adjustment room as you probably need. This could go down another, at most, 1 millimetre on the high E. So this has been designed to take you down to 0.5 millimetre action, should you want it. And I'm not going to go down that low to try it. I think what I'm going to do is, for Gary, I'm going to give this back at the action that I've got it to, the electric guitar action, because it's beautifully playable. Why would you have it higher than that? Right, well look, I'm going to do the boring fiddly end, fret end stuff. It's a shame because I'm going to slightly rework the stylized ends, but I know that if it's a little bit too sharp for Gary's liking, then that's what it's here for. Yeah, thanks for watching. It's been, for me, it's been a very interesting thing. It's definitely, I would say that's on definitely a viable guitar. An acoustic. No, so what we've just proved here is an acoustic guitar with an electric guitar action, with no compromising the sound or the freedom for the strings to move. That's quite something. That reduction in action will also have taken the first fret down to a precise something like about 0.2 of a mil, 0.25. So that's beautifully low first fret action, no problems at all. You've got a neck that won't change. I can now give this, for example, I could give this setup back to Gary and not worry that as the winter comes around, the neck will flatten out and suddenly we'll lose that clearance and it will be buzzing and not playing, and then he'll be annoyed. So I can have the confidence that that's not going to happen any time throughout the year. And I just have the belief that this isn't going to change shape over time. Again, the only way you'd know that is to pull this for 20 years, 200 pounds of string loading for 20 years. I think that's about the only way you could do it. I'm not even sure there's a way you could accelerate that aging process. It's not like repeat pulls, it's a constant pulling. But if their claim is correct that this is strong enough to never change, if they can guarantee this material will not change under any loading, then you've got a guitar for life with the most accurate fretboard that you'll have ever had, which I know some people who that would totally be what they want. I've got people who I've struggled to get next to the kind of action they want, and this thing could do it. I find that, could be wrong, but just a quick look, the intonation has felt a fraction sharp on this for me, but again, that could be a personal touch, since intonation is anyway a subjective thing based on your pressure of fretting. So let's just quickly check. That one's on, actually. It's good. Slightly sharp there. Well, it's sharp on the bite, but stabilizes to the pitch. Don't forget, of course, with a guitar like this, that's sharp. With a guitar like this, you can spend an absolute ton on getting a beautiful exotic instrument, but you can also, if you're not careful, you can end up with it playing out of tune the whole time because you didn't stretch your strings enough. So the nut and string slack are the two critical things for getting your tuning stable. The nut appears to be really well done here. the other user controlled piece of this is the stretching of the strings, which when I put the new ones on this, I'll make it my business to stretch them out fully. There we go, that's better. Better. Right, well, I think that's fantastic. Very impressed. Now some boring stuff to do the ends, but that's it for now. I'm going to watch something on the news or the radio while I do that. And thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed that interesting thing. Yes, I recommend it. I really do. I would be, if I was buying one, I would talk to them and I would say, do you guarantee that this doesn't change shape? That this under string loading, is there no effect? I want to hear a guarantee, because the truth is, of course, if it did change shape under loading, you'd be in the same place as anything else. But I believe them when they say it's stronger. There would be no point in doing it if it wasn't. Great. Thanks for watching. See you again. The Emerald X20. Look at that.